Hi there, I'm Lyndon Thorpe. I'm an embodiment mentor, and this is Lodestone Q&A, and we're here every Friday. I will introduce my lovely guests in a moment, and we have really enticing discussions. And as you know, I started this session with a presentation, a faceless presentation. I wanted you to really think about emotions because that's today's topic. EQ is a huge topic in corporations and companies at the moment. But what is it and what does it do? We're going to talk about that. And as you could see from the video, yeah, emotions are natural things. They arise in the body. And I'm really against all this EQ stuff because you can't measure something that's invisible. Emotions are invisible and they're unique to each individual. So to set up automations and AI that can measure emotions, to me, is an awful thing. And I really want, I've written lots about it this week on LinkedIn, you'll be able to read. But I really want to make sure that people don't take it seriously. Unfortunately, companies are taking it seriously and they're basing reports and progress on assessments made by AI quite often. So this is really, really awful. So without further ado, let me introduce my two guests, and bring them onto the stage in all their glory. And we've met them before. Ebi Shilia is here and Dr. Jamusi is here. Muhiba, hello. So lovely to have you. We are expecting another guest, but she's not shown up yet. So I'll keep checking and see if she's coming. Anyway, let's get started. Today I gave you a few questions to get the juices going. Well, first of all, let me tell you that Ebi Shilia gave me this idea. Last week we talked about this a little bit, and it really struck me as incredible that emotions are being measured in this way, and then people are being held accountable to the results. So I got really on my high horse about it. So thank you, Ebi. And no doubt you will be on your high horses too, I'm sure. So yeah, first of all, let's start off by defining what for you emotions are, because I've already shown you what I think of them in my presentation, my voiceless presentation. And I'd love to know how you, so please fire away, open your microphones and let's, who'd like to go first? Muhiba? Muhiba, you have to unmute.
Sorry, I was saying, hello.
Hello.
So again, I said Ebi got the idea. So she
Yes.
goes first.
Yes, she gives me lots of ideas. Go ahead.
Yeah, emotions. It's very difficult to describe, isn't it? Because it's unique, and if I describe it to you, you're not going to really get it because it's unique to me. You get it in your own way. So I really agree with you that it's not, you can't measure it, can you? So for me, what was the question? What does emotions mean to me?
Yeah. What are emotions to you? And I know they're unique to you, and that's why I want you to tell us about it, because it's your unique view, and I'm very interested to know how you, Ebby, view them.
I've since I've started recognizing the feelings in the body, I'm now trying to relate to, like, if I get upset, what's going on in my body? Where is it? Where am I feeling is in my body? Why am I getting triggered? Why am I getting emotional? Because one thing I found out about emotions, even though we do need them, but we need to regulate them, because they make us act sometimes irrational. So if we are not aware of what that we're being emotional, or we're being triggered by maybe somebody or an action happening, we can react, as opposed to, what's the other word of react? As opposed to have clarity and respond. Yeah, as opposed to responding.
Respond.
Because reacting doesn't always produce a positive result. So it's different, because different things, like, over the years since I've been recognizing my emotions and where they sit in my body, I've been trying to regulate it more. So what might upset you might not necessarily upset me, not because I'm not feeling anything about the situation, but because I'm learning, because it's still work in progress for me. I'm learning how to regulate it so I can have more clarity in my brain, because the brain, or the mind, is a tool, like you always say, and it helps to protect us. So it immediately jumps to react, just to protect us.
Yes.
Like I always say, like, it's like the example they always use is like a tiger. 2,000 years ago, people felt stressed not as much as we feel stressed. So if they saw a tiger, they got stressed and they reacted to that, and they needed to react to that because it was protective for them, because they could die if they didn't react to it. But these days, for instance, I want to catch a bus. My body has those same feelings as seeing a tiger. So it's stress. I'm late for a meeting. My body is stressed. So those same feelings are going through. And so the reactions are the same as seeing a tiger. We get, in terms of what's going on in your body, it gets all stressed and gets so emotional because you're running late. But if you take the deep breaths and you, instead of reacting, you respond. Okay, I'm late. Nothing I can do about it. Take the deep breath. What's the solution? So it's being able to recognize that this is going through your body, because, as you said, the body keeps score. And while we get stressed, it's keeping score somewhere, which in turn might result in dis-ease of the body. And then in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, we're getting ill in that part of the body. So, yeah. That's a long-winded answer, but I don't
no.
emotions.
It's lovely, and I'm so glad you're just pouring out with what it feels for you. That's what I want. I want to know. And I'm so glad that you brought in my wonderful tiger, because the tiger is my favorite animal, really. And the way it behaves is something that mesmerizes me. I think it's so beautiful. So, yeah, the fear, it's a kind of fearful beauty somehow. It's a beautiful animal, but of course it could just bite your head off. So, no, I'm really glad you brought up the time. I think that's very interesting that you consider that emotions are ancient, and that probably 200 years ago, your ancestors, when seeing a tiger, would have the same emotions as when you run to catch the bus. That's that very salient point. Good, great. Muhiba, how about you? Have you got some questions?
You speak, and I've got 10 answers and questions and comments, and you take me here and there and everywhere. I start with the animal I connect to. It would amaze anyone if I said, I connect to the snail. I have for years and years and years connected to the snail, because when I was a little girl, we used to pick up the snails when it rained, And we looked at them and they were all over the place. There wouldn't be a single snail. And it rains and nature would be opening up and snails come out. So I
Yeah.
connected myself to the snail because the snail takes ages to go out.
Mm.
Have those two little eyes going out, optimism, great, everything is beautiful. You try to touch one eye and the two eyes go inside and the snail
Yes. Yes.
protects
Yes.
itself under its shell.
Yes.
You don't see the snail again because the snail
Mm.
comes out to connect to you. But if you want now to harm the snail knows how to protect itself.
Mm.
I keep to that image. What are emotions? Emotions are the most extraordinary, complex, complicated, and simple. And simple. Because when they come, you don't get it. But when you think about it, you get it. So they come
Oh.
out of from the
Mm.
inside, from the guts. And you know,
Mm.
your mind doesn't get it at all. But then your
Mm.
consciousness settles down and understand your emotions are the most rational because they are the most authentic. And
Yes.
when I go to opera, I always tell my friends who are on my side here and there, I tell them, you know, they say, we know. If you don't cry, it means the opera has been good for nothing. And I always say, what is going to make me cry? Nothing. Nothing is happening that should make me cry. And the soonest I cry, the greatest the opera, the greatest the musical, the greatest the show. And the more I cry, it means, oh my God, it was grandiose.
Mm.
Nothing.
Mm.
And I would be sobbing sometimes. And I would say, what's going on? The same when I go to a wedding. People are laughing, dancing, and I am dancing and laughing. Sometimes I am crying at the wedding.
Mm.
My parents, as usual, crying at the wedding. I say, yeah, because I remember, you know, the grandmother would have loved to be here. I remember how attached she was to her little girl, but she's missing the wedding. So I remembered her, how she hugged the little girl, and she would have loved being here to celebrate. So I cry. So I start
Ah.
crying, not knowing
Mm.
why. And then I say,
Mm.
no, don't be silly. It's not
Mm.
silly. It's because I
Mm.
remember the grandmother. And so
Mm.
it's that empathy that comes out. There's nothing more
Mm.
authentic than emotions.
Mm.
And there's nothing more rational than emotions. They don't come
Mm.
out of nowhere. They don't
Mm.
come in a silly context. They come out because now I come to the point, how do I know I'm moved? My tears. First thing that comes out, my tears. And the more they are out and the more abundant they are, and the more I'm told you are being moved.
Mm. Mm.
That's for my
Mm. Yeah. Yes, that's really interesting because music, especially going back to your opera thing, I mean, music is my métier, really. And so I can just sob for hours listening to certain symphonies, certain operas. Yeah, I'm terribly emotionally tuned to music. And as you know, I worked with music as a therapy. Yeah, it's really my métier, really is. But I think it's really interesting that our emotions are internal. Okay, they're internal, and then we express them. So something brews inside us, and as you describe it, Muhiba, at the wedding, your sadness is brewing up, and then the tears come, or the laughter comes, or whatever it is. So it's really, I think, that EQ is attempting to measure something which is not only totally unique to each individual, but also is immeasurable. Science cannot come anywhere near it. It's spiritual, it's hugely spiritual, and it's very much connected to our ancestors, And Ebby mentioning 200 years ago, I think is so crucial, because our DNA, our ancestral line behind us, we are the foremost version, had emotional propensities, emotional tendencies. Give you an example. I never met my maternal grandfather. He died before I was born because he was in the war. He was very badly injured, wounded. And yet, nearly everyone in my family says, you are so like your grandfather. You laugh in the same way and you cry in the same way. So it's in our DNA. Our emotions are coded into our DNA. And of course, as we move through to the next generation, as we move on, taking our DNA with us, then we add our little in innovation, if you like, call it an innovation. But basically, the other really interesting thing is scientific, is that 95% of behavior, and Ebby and I were talking about behavior yesterday, 95% of behavior is not in your control. We can't control it. And so it's in the DNA, it's in the nervous system, and the nervous system is in control of that. So, Muhiba, when you say the tears come and nobody knows quite why you're crying at a very enjoyable and joyful event, yeah, this is, your nervous system. And it's harking back to some other such occasion. 95% we cannot control because it's DNA and it's imprinted in our ancestral lineage. So we can only have a chance of changing 5%. And that's what my lodestone does. It attacks that 5% and starts to rewire the hardened wiring to bring in other things so that people can live in the unconscious mind. And that's what it all is about. If we just move on to, there's so much to say about this. I'm getting quite emotional about it. I suppose that's appropriate. But there is so much to say about it. Ebby, do you see emotions as data or as energy or as feelings in the body or something else? Data, energy, feelings.
Signals.
Signals, great.
So like what you were saying about the 95%, I think the important thing is being aware. And I think this is where I found difficulty. And I think a lot of people find difficulty because, like you said, it's encoded in the DNA. So there's so many things in us that sometimes we don't like to admit that we are. And I think that's why a lot of people avoid it, because it is difficult to really go, because to be able to, I love what you do in terms of rewiring. I really, really love that. In terms of rewiring your mind. But when you understand what's going on in the unlimited mind, I call it the subconscious mind. When you understand what's going on in the subconscious mind and in the DNA, and understand, some people call it the shadow side of you, because there's a big side of us. And if you're not aware that you have that in you, then you can't really control it. You just act and react. But if you're more aware, and when you're being rewired, then you can have clarity on what to do. So in terms of, like Muhiba talked about the crying, and I do a lot of that. And I think in some societies, like in some societies, some people view crying as sad. Some people view crying as manipulation. But for me, I recognize this probably maybe about 3 years, not too long ago, in myself, and on the other side of 60. So it's taken me this long to realize that for me, crying is energy. So it's a release of energy. So when I'm having that energy that I need to release, I notice that tears just come to my eyes, and I just can't control it, and just comes. And if it's something positive, then the tears are not so, they don't shake my body that much, if I can describe it that way. So it's kind of like it just flows and it just comes out, you know. But if it's something negative, the tears can really, really vibrate my body, and I feel really intense about it. And I don't necessarily cry in public. I could be crying in private, but I just notice that even if I'm listening to something, for me, it's tears.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a female thing, I don't know. But for me, it is tears in terms. So I think for me, it's, so my signals for emotions is more of energy. So in terms of joy, I see it as energy. Fear or anything is all energy. Because I believe that we are energetic beings, and everything is energy. So maybe that's why I'm seeing it that way. So the joy is still energy. The sadness is still energy. It's just energy. And being aware of this energy that's going through our bodies, I think it's so important to be aware, because then it's not that you're not emotional about something, like I said earlier. It's just that you've got more clarity, so you're more responsive to the situation as opposed to reactive, which can be negative. Obviously, in a joyful situation, like Mohiba was talking about in the wedding, that's fine. If you're reactive to and you cry, that's nice because it's a joyful occasion. But if it's an aggressive situation and you react, you might escalate the aggression. Whereas if you respond, you might be able to diffuse the situation.
Very interesting. Yes, I think that you're mentioning the shadow side and the resistance that people have to going inside because there's something about themselves they can't face or don't like, you said. This is a huge barrier to people ever going down in their spiritual life, into their inner core, as I call it, because people just don't want to know, they think. And I think the notion of the shadow side is something that Freud really kind of exploded. And I'm afraid I really disagree with it, because if you practice a spiritual tradition, for example, my pathway has been Buddhist, as you know, then there is no shadow. There is no shadow because you're constantly going inside. Constantly going inside.
But you're practicing the Buddhist thing. I'm talking about most of us that are not, and are having to find that. So now I'm not Buddhist, but I am practicing this stuff. And so I've been able to recognize that it's there. Like you said, with what you practice, because you've been practicing it's not there. It doesn't have to be there. It's just when we're aware. Yeah, it doesn't have to be there. It's not innate, is it? It's just
it's not. And that's right. I think the whole concept comes from the limited mind. The limited mind puts that shadow there. You know, in our limited mind, we are busy assessing ourselves, comparing ourselves with others. Oh, I'm not as generous as she is. Oh, I'm not as clever as she. I'm not as beautiful. You know, all the time analyzing, comparing. And for me, that's the shadow. And the moment I started to get inside the unlimited mind all the time, I realized there was nothing there at all. It's just an interpretation. That's the other thing that the limited mind is excellent at, isn't it? Interpreting.
And we are all good.
We are.
So the unlimited mind, the spirit self, is all good.
Yes, we are all good. Absolutely. Muhiba, you're dying to say lots of things.
Thank you for expressing exactly how I feel. I come from a culture which cherishes and honors emotions. And that is very important, because when I later got in contact with other cultures that say, let your emotions out, I say, what are they talking about? What am I letting all the time, if not my emotions? And yes,
Yeah.
I get confused about what they're talking about. My emotions are what I am most proud of, what I never ever hide, because they are, and the key word in my life is authenticity. You can play with words, play with thoughts, play with claims, whatever. When it comes to emotions, you can play with nothing. You can't bring tears, because they would really, if they are false tears, they would reveal you as fake. So you better not. So when tears are gushing out of my eyes, that is me. Why should I hide me? Why should I hide my inner spirituality? The emotions are at the core, at the heart of my spirituality. And if I'm proud of anything in life, it's of spirituality. And I come from whatever religious background I come from, it's of little importance. Because if religion give you as the most important value, which is spirituality, well, good luck. Because what is it if not spirituality? So it's this spirituality which I let go, let show, whatever the context, I never resist, because it's my beauty. I have cried in class. I have cried at a meeting where I was the boss. I have cried in positive, negative, in public, in private, because I am letting people see who I am. And if I resist, it means I resist the most beautiful part of me. People tend to admire my brains. I say, thank you, that's kind of you. I admire my emotions, because they are who I truly am. My brain has acquired knowledge, acquired expertise, acquired know how. My emotions are me, truly me. That's how I express emotions.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. That's exactly what I wanted you to say, and you did. I think that we are surrounded by people who are not being themselves. You know, this is a huge problem, and it really bothers me so much that people cannot be themselves. When I was very young, maybe 15, just about become a Buddhist by that time, I one day I decided, just out of the blue, that I would always be honest with myself.
Yeah.
That I would always do that, no matter how much the ensuing behavior upset other people, for example, my mother mainly, which it did. I would have to be myself, because I am a unique being and I must be myself. And so, yeah, I've had a very hard life with family and things like that, because they can't cope with me being myself. Because they're very traditional in many ways, and I'm always black sheep, you know. But I
I know
insisted from
that
that
feeling.
moment. Do you?
I'm the
I
same.
insisted.
I'm the
We've probably
same.
got 3 black sheep right here, I think. I think so. But I just couldn't live any other way. Once my kind of adolescence was passing and I was developing into a real person, I just knew I could not live any other way. And that sincerity, self-sincerity, of course, is the fundamental precept of all Buddhist teachings. How on earth can you practice any teachings if you're not being honest with yourself, you know?
Yeah, and that
So,
leads me on to a question that I really have for you, because this is something I want to hear your viewpoint, because for me, I just want to hear your viewpoint anyway. So you often say that Lodestone it's not about suppressing or controlling emotions, but working with them in your body, right? So how does
Yes.
Lodestone guide people to engage with emotions in a deeper, more embodied way?
Oh, good question. Well, as I mentioned earlier, it rewires things, So, Ebby, you've talked a lot about reacting, and that's how people live because they're in the limited mind, as I call it. So, for example, if the phone rings, the whole body tenses to go and pick up the phone. This is what I call gross reaction, and I've worked a lot in bodywork circles to get rid of those reactions and, yeah, stay with the body and pick the phone up beautifully, elegantly, and say hello in a very calm voice. So this reactiveness comes from always being up here, really ignoring the body. So what my lodestone does is it takes you into your inner core. Okay, it's meditative, it's an audio transmission, as you know, 30 minutes a day. And there are 30 sessions. And from the very beginning, you start this revolving of three main practices. The first one is whole body listening, which I've mentioned here on Lodestone before. That means you're not just listening with your ears and with your intellect, you're listening with the whole body, which goes back to the tiger. The animals listen not just with their ears, but with their entire physiology, even the tip of the tail. So I work on whole body listening first in the transmission. The second stage is we move to the breath, the anchor of the breath, which brings people to now and here. There is nothing else anyway. There is only now and here. There is only the moment. Okay, so the breath will anchor you in that moment. And then the third stage is the spine. And the spine is the conduit between the heavens and the earth. It's your consciousness, and the vertebrae protect it. And so recycling these methods, these three techniques inside each day, what happens is people start to realize that behavior is separate to who they are. So inside, if you like, behavior is the result of their internal life. And they are really quite separate. We can feel something inside and act in a very different way. So that incongruence is quite common. So I'm sure you've experienced this. You're talking to someone and they're smiling, and you think they're really in tune with you, and they speak in a very admiring way. But then later on, you learn that in fact they have
Hated you.
No, this person is crazy. I'm not going to have anything to do with her. So we can really produce very artificial behavior from this huge bank of behavior that we've got in our ancestral DNA. So what Lodestone does fundamentally is it takes you so deeply into your unique storehouse, if you like. Each person has this huge storehouse of experience, of ancestry, of spirituality, of all sorts of things. So Lodestone takes you on a journey inside there, and you start to recognize all the elements in your treasure house. And you start to realize that you are the supreme ruler of that inner life. No one can control it. But we don't actually understand that because we don't go in deeply enough. So Lodestone takes you really deeply inside, and you very quickly realize that you're in control of everything. And that's been one of the strongest comments I've had from people. Oh, well, I can do what I like. I can say no. I can say yes. I am the boss. I am the CEO of me.
Yeah.
Nobody else can rule me. So I call it the supreme ruler. So really, Lodestone through 30 days, maybe longer if you're really, entrenched in your hard wiring, starts to loosen all that, and you start to appreciate with tears, probably lots of tears, wow, I'm so fabulous. I've got all these inner resources. What a miracle, a human being. What a miracle of a human being I am. And so people start to realize and wake up that they have everything they need right inside them. And they can choose whether or not they go out and socialize, whether or not they go out and accept invitations, etc. So I think, making us aware that we are totally in control of ourselves is what Lodestone does. Does that explain?
That's a great answer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's a great question. I'm really glad to talk about Lodestone because I want everybody to use it, because they'll have transformation galore in 30 days if they follow the practice, strictly each day. Muhiba, sorry, we're chattering on. Go ahead.
I just would like to respond or react. You choose. I choose. Because
You choose.
it's lovely feeling. I never resist. Somebody comes in with flowers. I can't help, just I don't want to help. Hugging the person, saying, "Oh, how great. That's fantastic," because this is my reaction. It's going to serve me to be happy, to serve the person who has brought the gift to be happy. React. It's a beautiful reaction. So
Yeah, but what about when you have negative? That's positive.
I will
What
come.
about when you have?
I will come. I always start with what is easy.
Okay.
Then, now somebody starts shouting. I used to react immediately, because when you shout, I am likely to shout.
Yeah.
And then here, now I have, because it's negative, I have another approach. Because my approach is to use two tools. One, curiosity. Why is the person shouting? Second tool, whatever happens should never destroy my well-being and the other's well-being. Here you see I'm now responding because it's negative. So I'm more cautious because it's negative. Cautious in the sense that I take that shouting and channel it. It doesn't come to me. No. I have a shield. So my emotions, it's like drawing the shield and taking time. Curiosity. Why is he shouting? Oh, I know. I made a mistake. I immediately go to the other and say, I'm so sorry. You are right. I should have never done this. And I do apologize. And you know how much you mean to me. And the other cools down. Because again, I'm my authenticity. I'm batting to me. In my eyes. The other could see I moved to tears or I am crying. The other understands it was a mistake and I'm learning from my mistake not to do it again. And it cools the whole thing. If the other, I've gone into it, no. The other is being unjust. No matter what happens, I'm going to say, I'm terribly sorry. You've been unjust to me. And the other would say, blah, 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 blah. And I keep cool. And I use my curiosity and answer back. Now I'm using my emotions to shield me and my brains to answer back. And I would say, I'm so sorry, you are contradicting yourself. You are now having double standards. So please, let us stop it here because we cannot continue. I'm being authentic. using your double standards, and we can't go on, we can't move on. No
Mm.
problem. I'm sure you will find all you need with other people. I will find all I need with other people. You
Mm.
share your values with them, me sharing my values with them, because my
Mm.
value number one is authenticity.
Mm.
My value
Mm.
number one is honesty. My value number one is fairness. No double
Mm.
standards, no playing, messing around. I'm sure
Mm.
we would love you and you would love them.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Bye.
Yes, good, good, good. So, when you do relationship coaching, do you use these techniques as well?
Absolutely. I
Mm.
divide conflict in 5 stages. And I say, never go into meeting someone carrying your luggage with you, your former stories. If you are going there with these former stories, don't go. Just stay where you are. And if you are going with the pleasure of meeting someone or with the authenticity to be fair and to discuss, go. If not, stay where you are. Second,
Mm.
you see a conflict escalating. Conflict can stop at any moment, including when you are over and you think, okay, that's it, I'm done, and you go.
Mm.
You can
Mm.
still de-escalate even afterwards. So
Mm.
it's these techniques that I use to never start a conflict and to de-escalate if it goes on. Even if the other is escalating, you can still de-escalate by
Mm.
being using using sorry to say using, because people say, oh no, using your authenticity,
Mm.
saying, don't do this,
Yes,
you are too dear
yes,
to me, our
yeah.
relationship is beautiful. Don't say this because it's not true. Even, I mean, in terms of truth, it's not even true. So let's stay these good friends. And this cools people down because it's authentic. You can't play games with authenticity. You
No.
can't play games with emotions, because
Mm.
there is what I often say, you are a whole. My words, my facial expression, my color, my eyes. I had this black friend, and people used to laugh at me. And he said, when he came home and he met my family, and we all laughed, and they would say, how would you, my family would say, how would you recognize our friend's uh, facial expression and change of color? Because he's black. I would say his eyes would change color. Yes, yes. Because I could
Yeah.
see his eyes when he was sad. The color of his eyes would change. Not necessarily the color of his face, but the color of his eyes would show his emotions. And my
Mm.
little ones, who were just little ones, would say this. They say, oh, Uncle so and so, you are moved, aren't you? You are sad, you are happy. They could feel it. Little kids can feel it, can see emotions.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Interesting, very interesting. I at this great, great stuff. I'm at this stage. I have to tell you this story, and I told Ebby this story the other day because it changed my life. Um, I worked as a music therapist when I was quite young. I was a professional musician, no money, bleeding fingertips from practice and all this stuff. And I had to get some money. So I started to use therapy, music for therapy. And I was assigned to go to this incredibly scary psychiatric Victorian building, which UK is full of. And it was the wing for the criminally insane. Forgive me for repeating this, Eddie. I'll try and make it
That's
different.
fine. It's a lovely story.
So I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I'd never really met insane people before. And, I just didn't want to go. Anyway, I had to go. I knew I had to go. And in fact, it was so wonderful I did. And they assigned me to a serial killer, someone who had murdered viciously 5. And when they told me that, I nearly fainted and turned around and went home. I thought, how am I going to deal with this? So got all my instruments and things, and I was shown into this very large room, like a lecture room, empty apart from one table and two guards with their chains and their guns, not guns in those days, truncheons and things. And this man sitting at this desk, this table, handcuffed on both sides, handcuffed with his legs as well, with his feet. So I started, and they'd warned me not to go near him. So I started with my guitar or whatever I was playing, wandering around the room, singing, stopping and drumming, changing moods, this kind of thing, all the time watching him. And this went on for a few weeks, and he was enjoying it. He wanted to continue, apparently, though I never spoke to him. So anyway, little by little, and this is what happens in music therapy, little by little, I got 1/2 meter closer to him and another 1/2 meter closer to him each week, So eventually I was quite close to him, and the guards were kind of looking and signaling not to come any closer. But I put my instruments down and I looked into his eyes, very deeply into his eyes, and he looked into mine. And he said, "I am not who you think I am." So I said, "Tell me more." And I gradually went and sat with him, and the guards were kind of shivering and moving closer, to protect me. And he started to tell me why he'd killed these people and how he'd been pushed to the absolute limit of the limited mind. And that's at that point I really appreciated the limited mind and what it could do to people, burnout and so on. Well, this had moved him to murder 5 people. And he said, you hate me, I know. And I said, "No, I love you. You need more love than anybody else. I love you unconditionally. No trace of hate. I'm not capable of hate. Don't know what hate is." And he looked at me, and the tears came. He started to absolutely sob. The tears fell wildly. And so at this moment, I had the greatest example in my life of how behavior is not the person.
Yeah, so
maybe she'd go on.
So you had the connection, and I think through the eyes, like Muhimba even said, when you're able to have that connection through the eyes, you see the real person,
yes.
which can be very different from the behavior. And this is something I learned probably about almost 30 years ago, that the real person of who you are, the authentic person, is not usually, doesn't normally align with the behavior. And it's being, like Muhiba keeps stressing, is being authentic. And I think this is what we're missing. A lot of us are not able to be authentic. We're trying to be like what mom expects us to be, what society expects us to be, what we see ourselves, we compare ourselves, and just if we just can go in and be authentic, that goodness will come out. And that's what you saw with him. And when you told me that story, and even now I'm getting goose pimples because I can just see it. And it's such a difficult concept for people to understand. It's not that he shouldn't take the consequences of what he's done. That's not what you're saying.
No,
what you're saying is that if we could only bring out that authenticity in people, we would see a better world. And that's what I do. Get off my soapbox.
Absolutely. That's what Lodestone does. That's what my Lodestone does. It allows you to be authentic. And in fact, I became quite good friends with him. And he was always chained up, and I tried to fight with getting him unchained, but they wouldn't risk that. And we became really good friends. And he would laugh and he would cry quite often. And I would say, look, I know, I can see who you are. You're a beautiful, beautiful person. We all are. We're all beautiful. We're all good. But you were pushed to your limits and you behaved very badly. He said, yes, and I will spend my whole life being punished for that, because he was a life sentence person, you know. So this really is the key to so much of the way we live. If we can, as Muhiba was saying, you know, if somebody's shouting at you, if we can withdraw from that or detach from that and realize that it's that person's problem. They are in control of themselves, so they should be. And if we move away, then we can help because we're calm, we are detached, we are compassionate, hopefully, and eventually they'll calm down. And it's just kind of like a firework going off, and then it's finished, you know. So if we don't prolong the thing by resisting and say, oh, you shouldn't do that, and you're not, you know, if we just stand back, they will calm down, and then they'll be pretty apologetic in my experience. They'll say, oh, I'm really sorry. So I thought, it's fine. It's your way of letting off steam. It's fine. No, nothing to do with me, really.
Yeah.
So
yes. I love about what you said, Lyndon, to comment on what you said. Nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody is being violent, it's nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
If I've done something wrong, just tell me quietly what you wasn't nice, and I will apologize when I understand. Nothing to do with me. So it's your perception of what I did. Correct me if I'm wrong. I love this expression. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't shout at me. Don't yell at me. Correct me. And what you said earlier about, you look at this man and you think, no, I don't have hatred for you. I have love. And that's what I have now. Now that I've started coaching, I started coaching 5 years ago. Now when somebody's shouting at me, I have empathy. I used to have anger. I used to have violent reaction. You shout, I shout louder. Oh, you shout. Because I think, oh no, you are ruining you're ruining something beautiful. My perception of you, or our relationship, or whatever. But it's not serving us. I say, oh no, it's not serving us. You are such a wonderful person. So what's going on? Tell me. And the moment you say this authentically, it's no game, no manipulation. Authenticity, as you know. Because the other can see my empathy, and my face would be changing, my eyes would be watery. I'd say, no, don't do this to yourself and to me. It's going to poison yourself.
Yes, that's
You will
right.
not poison me, so we go quiet. We don't go into these wild blah, blah, blah.
No. Yeah, I think this is so important, because this is why the world is in such a mess, because people react. Going back to Ebby's opening statements, we are constantly reacting to things. We've got rage now. Rage has replaced awe. You know, 100 years ago, people were in awe of the natural world, of things in their life. Now awe seems to have disappeared and been replaced by rage. You know, car rage, any numbers of types of rages. And I really feel that if we can take control and realize we are the only one who can control. And this murderer said that to me, actually. He said at one stage, we were talking about it, and he said, I lost control because I thought I didn't have control. So I said, why did you feel you didn't have control? He said, society was pushing me. My limited mind was pushing me. Everyone was pushing me. Apparently he was out of work, he was drinking, all the kind of traits of this kind of the criminal mind, really. And he said, I wasn't in control. I thought society was in control of me. So it's like we outsource control to society. Big topic, very big topic, this, I think. And the topic I want to broach next, if you're in agreement, Sheila and I talked about it yesterday a little bit, sacrifice. Mohibba, how do you
That's
feel about
very
it?
interesting. Yeah, that's a big
Because
take on that one.
I feel terrifically that people sacrifice themselves, and maybe from a religious pressure or
Yeah.
cultural pressure, you know, oh yes, I've got to help this person, I must help this person, I can't do anything for myself. So we stop caring about ourselves, we neglect ourselves, and then we
I
end
thought
up
that
going,
was innate to us females too. Maybe because we have the natural thing of carrying on generations. Maybe it's just innate because we have that natural care. I don't know. So that's a good topic for us to explore. Or is
Absolutely.
it society that's putting that pressure on us? I don't know.
yes,
Or both,
yes,
you
yes.
know.
Yes, and the murderer said that to me. He said, "Oh, I had to provide for my family. I didn't like my job. My wife bashed me all the time and sent me off to work." He was so pressured by his conditions, you know, and so he sacrificed himself, and in so doing, lost control. And
Blew
so,
up.
yeah,
Burnout. Mohira,
that's right.
You know, I have a concept. First thing I do is define it. What is sacrifice? What are you sacrificing for whom? How? What? That would be my beginning when you ask me
Great.
questions.
Great. Okay. Well, you start off next week. You can start the ball rolling next week. Okay. And we'll grill you. No, I think it's a fantastic topic. I've been kind of researching it for off and on for a while now. And I think it's another root problem in
Absolutely.
developed societies. We can't generalize about undeveloped societies, I don't think, but I think in developed societies, yeah, it's a huge issue. So there we are. We have the next topic, and I'll get it all sorted out. And Muhiba, you will lead us, okay?
We always need one another, don't we? Always.
Yes, but I know you want to define it, and yeah, I think of course that's always a really excellent place to start. And yeah, really look forward to that then next week. And you're both okay next week to go ahead?
Yep.
Yeah. Great. Okay, let's do our homework and spend the week thinking about sacrifice, and then we can bring all the pearls of wisdom for the benefit of our wonderful LinkedIn members who are watching us now, and our YouTube members too who are tuned in, I hope. Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. This has been great. I've really enjoyed it, and I think we've got really far into this topic. We didn't talk about EQ very much, but I think we can definitively say that we don't agree with EQ, and we can't possibly measure all the magnificent things we've been talking about, you know, with machines and AI and all of that. And the EU has forbidden AI intervention to read emotions. So that's a good thing about Europe.
Just one word.
Superb.
Words is we don't need AI. We need just the eye to see all the emotions and to express all the emotions.
Yes. Yes, totally agree. It's a great way to finish. Okay, so nice to have you, and look forward to our ongoing explorations of such exciting topics. Wonderful. So thank you, and I'll be in touch during the week. Have a great week. Bye. Bye. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We had a great discussion. I'll be reporting on it and give you some highlights if you didn't have time to watch the whole thing. We'll put the replay into into LinkedIn, and then you can check it out. And we'll be continuing on next week, and the topic will be sacrifice, which is another really deep topic. So thank you so much for joining me. If you're interested in Lodestone, best thing you can do is come to Lodestone lunch every Monday at 12:30 BST. I will be there on Zoom. You can register easily. We'll put the registration link below this window, and we will be discussing many things, but most of all, it's a refuge for you to come and experience embodiment with a mentor like me. And we can talk, and the main thing is experience. So please join me on Monday, every Monday, lunchtime, and Lodestone Q&A, we're here every Friday. We love it, and we are making great headway into many, many topics. And Lodestone, yes, look in the comments below this window, and you'll see how you can find out more about Lodestone. So, without more ado, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great week. And I hope that you don't have to suffer EQ in your workplace, and that you are now armed with some information about refusing. Thank you so much. See you next week.